these truths to be self-evident.
That all men are created equal.
As a member of Congress, I get to have a lot of really interesting people in the office. Experts on what they're talking about.
This is the podcast
For insights into the issues.
China, bioterrorism, Medicare for all. In-depth discussions.
Breaking it down into simple terms. We hold
these truths.
with Dan Crenshaw.
The Eagle has landed.
Welcome back, everybody. Today is a special episode because we have an Astros pitcher with us. Not your usual politics podcast. This one should be a lot more fun. We have Lance McCullers Jr. with us. He's a starting pitcher for the Houston Astros, world champion, of course, with a pretty nasty curveball. And off the field, he's got a pretty active social media presence, devotes his time to charity, which is the Lance McCullers Jr. Foundation. And more importantly than anything, Lance and his wife, Kara, just became parents on New Year's Eve just last year, welcoming Ava Ray McCullers into the world. Lance, first of all, congratulations on that, and welcome.
Thank you. Yes, a lot of crazy past crazy months in the McCullers world with baby coming in and now all the stuff going on in the world. Been very happy to be here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now, or well, depending on how you look at it, a lot not going on. So what's that like? I mean, opening day was supposed to be last week, right?
Opening day would have been Thursday. Yeah, the 26th.
And what did that feel like?
Shitty.
Yeah, I bet.
We were just working out in Bregman's garage on the day we should have had opening day. So,
yeah.
But we're doing what we can, trying to stay ready.
Yeah.
So.
And do you think you're able to? I mean, are you guys able to train as needed?
Yeah, we were flowing pretty good. We were all going to the park. Most of the guys, about 10 or 12 guys, were rotating groups to mandate the 10 people or less. We were following all the rules. And then the park got shut down a couple of days ago. So guys have been scrambling. But Bregman has a garage full of workout equipment.
Yeah.
And I consider that essential.
That is important.
So we go in small groups. There's about 4 of us in the morning, go over there and get our working every day. You
guys don't have your own gyms at home? Not every Astros player has that?
No. Well, my garage is used for the cars.
Okay.
But Bregman has quite the house. And he has enough room to park his cars elsewhere. And so he turned the garage into a half podcast, half weight room. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's legit over there.
You guys are starting your own podcast.
Bregman has his own podcast.
Okay,
Carlos and I are getting on.
Okay,
are jumping on the podcast wave. We're going to do a UFC and kind of sports forward podcast. Bregman has one called Be Great. Nice. And it's cool. He's got a cool setup. But that's where we're going right now. That's what we're doing. We're still grinding.
So what does a typical workout look like for baseball players?
So it's upper lower bodies. Sometimes we'll do full body. Sometimes we'll dedicate certain days to agilities and speed work and core. So like last week, Monday was upper, Tuesday lower, Wednesday was all agility, speed, core. Thursday I threw a quote unquote live, so I threw like a heavy bullpen. Yeah. Just a simulated game. I threw 60 pitches of a simulated game. And then Friday we did.
Did you win the simulated game?
I did. I threw no hitter. It was pretty nasty. You should have seen it.
Amazing.
The ghost hitters weren't too much to handle the other day. Yeah, they did. So then Friday we did upper and lower, and then Saturday we did another agility kind of recovery flow type day.
So when you say upper and lower, I guess my question is, when you're training for baseball, are you lifting heavy with low reps? Or are you doing a lot?
It varies. So like right now, we were in spring training. So like when we go to spring training from the off season, I'll kind of taper back on the like the extremely heavy weights, and I'll go for more lighter weights, higher reps, kind of try to keep the kind of keep speed and agility as my main focus, keep the body loose. In the off seasons though, it's like now we're obviously not playing, so I kind of transition back to doing heavier squats, pressing again, lat pulls, all that kind of stuff.
Is that beneficial for a pitcher?
I don't know.
Who knows? To do like heavy squats? I'm very curious about these things.
I think so. Hex bar.
Yeah,
hex bar squats I think are extremely beneficial. It helps with the legs, the grip, the forearms. It gets the whole body involved. So I don't know. I think lifting has been beneficial. I enjoy it. So whether it's beneficial or not, I think it's good for the mind.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's why I do it, right? Yeah. It's like you don't need to be strong to be in Congress. Well, these days,
actually,
break out
on the floor.
Yeah, I joke it's not a joke, but it is a joke, which is I've never had a job where somebody's not trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Kind of dark humor.
Yeah.
I asked this question. I'm just curious because I've never been in the sports world. I mean, I grew up playing soccer, but really competitive soccer for me was in Bogota, Colombia, because I went to high school in Colombia. My dad, from Houston, and he was in the oil and gas industry. And so, I spent all of high school in Colombia following his career. And sports are different around the world. They don't do the same level of conditioning work that we do here. You join a sports team in the U.S. and it seems to me like half is conditioning, half is playing the actual game. I don't know if that's the right ratio, but it's a lot. It's a lot of conditioning.
No, there's a lot of, even in high school. I mean, you play baseball. Just my high school specifically. So baseball season runs from February to maybe May, into May, if you go like all the way to state. Yeah. And then after that, a couple weeks off, we have summer ball. Mm-hmm. And then when you come into the fall and the winter, you are just lifting and running, and it's a full year gig. Yeah. Especially like in states, Texas, Florida, California, Georgia, you're kind of forced into a one sport role because of how much, like you're saying, how much training there is before and after the playing. Right.
And in Colombia, there was like nothing. I mean, we didn't do conditioning
just soccer
at all. I mean, every practice was just practicing. And I had just left Houston, and we didn't lift weights because, this was like middle school, so it didn't really, I don't think we would have really made sense. But we did a lot of sprinting. There was conditioning constantly. Right, yeah. Never in Colombia. That's just not how they play. Maybe they should, but it's just not what they do.
There's some running here. There's a lot of involved. There's a lot of the lifting is lifting for strength, but it's also lifting for stability, lifting for, specific mobilities that I would be doing in my motion, trying to strengthen. When I've had a back problem in the past, so we do a lot of extended work, a lot of negative work where my back is past flat, and I'm doing weighted stuff to try to strengthen those areas. So we're not getting in there throwing it around like Ronnie Coleman or anything, and we're also not out there getting ready for a marathon somewhere in between.
Do you think this is a theory I have? I didn't really lift because I was in Colombia in high school, and really in college either. Never lifted heavy, and as a result, and of course I've lifted heavy for the last, I don't know, since I've been in the SEAL teams. So since I've been 22, so almost, how old am I? So I guess that's about 14 years.
Right.
And I don't feel, and now my shoulders are starting to hurt in weird ways. So are my knees, but for the most part, I don't have a lot of the problems that I see in a lot of guys who've played sports since high school and done that weightlifting early on. Do you think there's some damage that gets done?
Yeah, I didn't start weightlifting until I was probably 20.
Yeah,
I didn't lift through high school. High school was much more of like the conditioning stuff that you were touching on, and a lot of play. It was mostly just playing all the time. You're always playing. Mm-hmm. And then I got drafted. I was 18, and then that first off season when I was 19, I didn't lift a whole lot. And then going into my second year in pro ball, I was 20, and I lifted a little bit.
Yeah.
I liked it, and I liked the way I felt at the beginning of the season, and it kind of tapered off. I didn't eat real well back then. I kind of like had some different habits that I have now. And I just got really into it. I was about 21 actually. So I really started lifting and kind of getting more into just like understanding.
How old are you now?
I'm 26.
Okay.
So like the last like 5 years, I do think if you do it too young, and incorrectly,
right. That's the big
thing. I think a lot of people out there that are trainers and whatnot, they have good ideas and good thoughts, and I think they come from a good place, but I think how kids are lifting is incorrectly, which lead to the problems.
Yeah, you've got to listen to your body. I mean, I have a weird way of working out. I really don't have a routine. I'm not so sure I've ever done the same workout twice. I never go in with a plan. I figure it out, and I feel my way through it.
I like that.
Now, you need some experience to be able to do that, but that comes with time. But I think I almost always do like a full body too. I'm never like concentrating. I see people writing their reps down and concentrate. I'm doing chest today. It's like, well, okay. I'm not sure if that's beneficial, and I don't know. I don't know. I like the way I do things though, and I've got to get really creative now because I've got as my gym closed, they started giving away weights.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that on Instagram. You rented them, right?
Yeah. And so I mean, I signed them out. Like,
right.
I didn't take them, and then I had to get them home because they're not delivering. Imagine that. So I've got a barbell with 45 pound plates, bumper plates. So, 135 pounds, and then two 65-pound dumbbells. There's a lot you can do with that. You just got to get creative. And
you got to go to the CrossFit website, just find some stuff.
Right. And you just got to understand. So today I did like laps around my apartment building, carrying the 45-pound weight. Which
there you go.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's not meant to be carried for long distances because it's about a quarter mile. Some handstand push-ups and lunges. I mean, you can do a lot. You can figure it out.
Here in the quarantine days, you have to get creative. That's the new thing. By the way, the push-up. Please stop tagging me in push-up challenges.
I guess I've gotten tagged so many times.
I'm not giving in to the peer pressure of the only challenge I'm probably going to do is your charity challenge. I saw that today.
Yeah, you saw that.
That was cool.
Yeah.
So I'll probably get the charity challenge going.
Yeah.
That doesn't require a whole lot of physical activity.
Right.
And it supports and helps people. So we'll go with that one. But like the game face challenge and the push-up stuff and all that, I'm out on.
So tell us about your charity, because you've already sort of done that challenge quite a bit. You have your own charity. What do you guys do, and how did that start?
Yeah, so my wife and I, Kara, we have a charity. It's really geared toward the animal population here in Houston. Mm-hmm. Our charity does touch on other things. We do work. I do a lot of work with Big Brothers Big Sisters here in the city of Houston. I'm kind of their champion, as we call it. We have a big champions campaign where we get the kids together. We were going to do once a month this year and do kind of like a big day for the kids. So like one day we were going to take them to the zoo. One day we were going to take them. We were going to have people come in that were influential and speak to the kids. We were going to have a Dress for Success day type thing. And then with our foundation specifically, we kind of got involved right when I got called up to Houston back in 2015. We launched the foundation in 2016, and it's grown so much since our initial launch. We first just wanted to help animals get adopted and fostered. So it started very small, and it's grown into something now where we're saving 6,000 to 8,000 animals a year alone.
Wow.
Off of a transport program we have set up through two amazing partners here in Houston. One's called the Rescue Pet Movement, RPM, and one's called Pet Set. And so we actually every 2 to 3 weeks get animals out on buses, and we drive them, or the companies drive them. We sponsor it all over the country.
Wow.
To other foster groups that are able to take them in. So that saves about 6,000 to 8,000 animals a year alone, right there. We have a big spay and neutering program through our foundation, because that's really the underlying cause of the animal overpopulation. And then we have a second chance fund, which is basically all the animals that come into the shelter that would be the first ones to go, first one to be put down. Mm-hmm. Gunshot wounds, stab wounds, hit by cars, neglected animals, abused animals. We pay for their treatments, their rehab, and get them into amazing forever homes. So that's kind of like our main 3 points there with the foundation, along with doing things in the community with the food bank and all the other needs that kind of pop up from time to time.
Didn't you just donate a bunch to the Houston Food Bank?
Yeah, Kara and I donated 10,000 meals to the food bank, and we help. We're not only an animal charity. A lot of people actually give me flack about that. They say
nobody's ever happy.
They always say all you do is help animals, and people are more important. But we love what we do. I think Houston loves what we do because they've been extremely supportive, and we just want to help out where our passion lies.
But that's something. It's like you can never. You're never doing it right.
Yeah,
no matter what. There's the trolling culture in America is just getting annoying.
Yeah. Last night, a guy commented on a post, and he said he hopes me and my whole family get coronavirus and die.
Wow.
So I told him to.
Did he say why?
No. I did tell him to send me his location in my DM.
Yeah.
But he hasn't yet.
Yeah.
I've been checking. But
what is it?
Like the other day, Carlos and I, we sent over Chipotle for all of Methodist, all the workers at Methodist the other day, just for a lunch, because we know how hard they've been working, and then people were commenting why we only send it to Methodist and not other hospitals. And it's like, I don't know, because Methodist sponsors our team, and I've been there 100 times for MRIs, and know half the doctors in the building. My daughter was delivered there.
Right.
But it's just never good enough.
Yeah, and I wish people would stop and think before they say what they're going to say. It's almost like people don't realize it's public, and it's like something switches in people's brains on social media. It's kind of like
it's a screen.
Yeah, it's a screen. It's not personal. Mm-hmm. They would never say that to your face, and they would, maybe because they don't have the guts to. But also, I want to believe also that their humanity would kick in at that point. And it kind of feels like social media allows everybody to be an angry driver. So how you are, not everybody. Of course, I've never done this. But, just kind of scream at the steering wheel when somebody cuts you off or somebody's acting terrible on the road. And you scream at the steering wheel because nobody can hear you and there's no consequences for that. And maybe that's okay. And frankly, that's a heck of a lot healthier than what we do on social media, because the difference being nobody hears you when you're screaming at the steering wheel.
Right.
But on social media, we can't transfer that to social media where people can hear and see you. And this has devastating consequences for our political culture, our culture at large, for kids. I mean, Instagram had to stop. The reason they took away the like button. Well,
because kids.
Yeah,
a large part.
Right, and
it's just tough.
I can get behind that. I guess
it's tough. I now that I have a daughter, I'd really just hope that, I don't think it ever will, but I hope that something else comes along and the social media flame dies out. Yeah, I don't know if it ever will, but I'm wishing for something that'll be worse, but
I don't know what to do about that either. So tell us about your daughter. She was born New Year's Eve.
She was born 27th of December, so very close. I think we may have after a couple days of her being born, I think we may have said that she was finally here, right around New Year's Eve. That's when I think my wife posted about
so how's
her.
that going? I guess one of the benefits of quarantine is
a lot of
get
time
to be at home with the family.
Yeah, it's kind of a push pull for me right now because, man, I miss baseball. It's been somewhere around like 500 days now since I've pitched in a real game, in a big league meaningful game.
Right.
And I was really looking forward to that again. But at the same time, I get a lot of.
And so everybody knows you were injured.
Yes.
Tommy John.
Yes, I had Tommy John.
What is that?
So it's basically there's a little ligament in your elbow that allows that motion that, like, when your arm is cocked back and kind of. It's hard to explain over the mic, but there's a little ligament in your elbow, and it basically allows you to pitch.
Yeah.
And when it's torn, it's extremely painful to pitch, and you have to get it fixed. So they just go in there, they take the old ligament out, they take a new one from your forearm or your hamstring, wherever you have it, and they drill a couple holes in the elbow, and they loop it around and stitch it off, and it's about a 13-month recovery.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Did they put a dowel around like the tendon and slip it into the bone? Like they drill a hole in the bone, they slip it in, and the dowel kind of turns 90 degrees and then catches in there.
I think so. They like kind of loop it. They like figure eight loop it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's how they fixed mine. I tore my pectoral tendon off the bone.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's similar, something like that.
Yeah.
And so I was really looking forward to pitch again, but but that's not happening right now. But I do get to spend some amazing quality time with my family that I'll never get back. So it's pretty cool.
That is good. And she's doing well.
She's doing great. Yeah, she's a sleeper.
Oh,
she sleeps like 10 to 12 hours every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I bet a lot of parents listening are really jealous about that.
I know. She takes after me. You're big sleepers.
Yeah, that's good. So tell us we didn't start with your history, but let's get into that now. So your dad was a pitcher.
Yes.
And well, I mean, I'll just let you take it from there. Your dad was who did he pitch?
My dad was a major league pitcher. He pitched for the Padres for a couple years, 3 years. Got traded over to, I believe, Detroit.
Okay.
Then Detroit to New York, the Yankees, for a couple years, and then he had a blood clot surgery. Was that back in the 80s or late 80s, early 90s? Made a comeback with the Rangers, and then that was it. So he had played about parts of 7 seasons in the big leagues, and so I kind of
grew up in this world.
No, he got called up young, so he was called up at 21.
Okay,
and I was born so 84, I believe, was his call up year.
Yeah,
and I was born in 93, and that was after the shoulder surgeries and everything, and he just was never really the same after that health wise. So he retired, and I was born the next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you really didn't grow up in it, but you grew up in the world, I guess, in a sense of you always knew he was a player.
Yes.
And it did that. I'm assuming that influenced you in some way.
I mean, we just grew up playing all sports.
Yeah.
We were just a sports family. I have 2 younger brothers who are twins. They're 20 months younger than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And, basketball, baseball, football, tennis.
Where'd you guys grow up?
Tampa, Florida. I'm from Tampa, Florida. Okay. Yeah. So so I'm half Irish and half Cuban.
Okay.
So that's basically, if anyone doesn't know what Tampa, Florida is like, it's about half Cuban, half Irish, everyone running around. Some Italians in there, in Tampa. But my grandfather came over, grew up in Ybor City, with his mom, and my dad's family came over, and everyone just seemed to settle in Tampa. So
Tampa,
that's where we've been.
I've been there a few times because SOCOM is in Tampa, and I have heard of this thing they do around Mardi Gras called Gasparilla. And it interests me because it's a pirate festival, and a lot of people think I look like a pirate. I don't know why. I don't get it. Might have something to do with that eye patch I wear. But this thing fascinates me, and it's like the entire city gets into it. Have you ever participated in this Gasparilla?
I have been to Gasparilla 2 times, and it's been post high school. It's a huge parade down in the south end of town, and it's kind of like a weekly thing though. There's a kids parade, there's a main Gasparilla parade, there's 5Ks.
They have pirate ships that literally invade the city.
There's a big strip of Tampa. It's called Bayshore Boulevard. It's right on the bay in Tampa, and it's closed down for like an entire week, and it is just floats after floats, and all the big organizations in Tampa. All the clubs in Tampa, they all get floats, rent out floats. People, I mean, there is probably 75% of Tampa there,
and people don't take it lightly. It's not like, oh, I'm going to throw on like a $20 little pirate outfit. I've seen pictures of this. People put on like $400 pirate outfits. I mean, it's really intense. It's really professionally done, and it's unbelievable to me.
Well, so I'm from North Tampa.
Is it different?
Yeah, there's a difference. If you're from North Tampa, so it's Gasparilla's like a big South Tampa thing. There's like a big line in the middle of Tampa, and it's like North Tampa and South Tampa, and there's just different ways. There's different ways of life up there. Depends on which side you grow up on.
South Tampans grow.
So all the South Tampa, they take it super serious. All the North Tampas come down and invade it, and they're just there to have a good time and grab some drinks.
That's funny. Okay, so you grew up in Tampa. I'm assuming you played a lot of sports, but at some point baseball became your sport, and at some point being a pitcher became your position. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so I went to Jesuit High School in Tampa, which is in South Tampa, and actually,
so you really are from
it's probably
South Tampa.
not
You just
in South Tampa. It's
yourself.
close to South Tampa, but it doesn't hit Kennedy yet, so it's probably not considered. But anyway,
now we're splitting hairs.
Yeah. Anyway, I went to Jesuit for high school, and played basketball my freshman year along with baseball. Basketball was my favorite sport. Actually,
Basketball is?
Basketball. I grew up a huge Magic fan.
Okay.
Big Tracy McGrady fan growing up, and I just really realized that wasn't going to be tall enough, and my jump shot's pretty piss poor. So
not good at these things. Yeah.
So baseball was it, and so I played shortstop for my high school team majority of my high school career, and I always threw hard. And the easiest way to get drafted, one of the easiest way to pique interest, I should say, to get drafted is throwing hard. And so about my junior year, I started focusing on pitching, and then I was drafted after my senior year as a pitcher. And a lot of stuff happens in between, a lot of showcases, a lot of traveling, a lot of being away for the summers, playing on certain teams to try to get exposure. But baseball was what I wanted to do. I've always loved baseball since I can remember, and I was going to do anything to try to make it happen. I knew pitching was the best way.
Awesome. And then and so where'd your career really start? The minor leagues, right?
Yep. So I got drafted 2012, and my first year I was in the GCL, so it's just a league in Florida where most of the new guys get drafted, they go to. And then my first full season was in 2013 in the Midwest League. I lived in Davenport, Iowa, and I actually lived in Bettendorf with Carlos Correa and Rio Ruiz. Carlos obviously with Houston Astros, and Rio Ruiz is now with the Baltimore Orioles. So we all roomed together in a little apartment in Bettendorf, Iowa. Would go to this place called Jimmy's Pancake House every single day. And then my next year, I played in the California League. I played in Lancaster, California.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening to this podcast and they want to go to Lancaster or they drive through, don't stop. Just keep on going.
Jeez.
Wherever you're going, don't stop. Just keep on going. But I met a lot of great people there. Had a really cool host family there. And next year, I went to Corpus Christi, and that was there for 3 weeks in the Texas League, and I got called up. And I've been in Houston ever since.
That was 2015?
2015.
Okay. And we're glad to have you, of course. We love our Astros here in Houston. And you guys made us really proud on the heels of Hurricane Harvey. That was, you can't imagine a better moment for Houston after such a devastating storm. That was about when I moved back home. So I left the military late 2016, did my master's degree, and then, it came back for Harvey. My parents up in Spring didn't flood, thankfully, but, a lot of people I did, and I ended up volunteering to deal with all that and with Team Rubicon. And the devastation was just crazy. But then we won the World Series, so that was great. I mean, what was that? Explain the emotion there and what that entire thing feels like as it relates to the devastation that Houston felt. Yeah,
looking back on things, at least in my life, I kind of just remember like more feelings more than anything. A lot of people can remember like vivid descriptions of things, but I just kind of draw back on a lot of feelings that I had in that time period. And it went from devastation, as you said, to just the most amazing feeling of just pure joy. And I could feel that from the whole city.
Yeah.
It wasn't, being at that parade, the support we had, seeing people watching the games inside of houses with just stilts, nothing on the floor, no furniture, watching people come to the parade and bringing pictures of their family members who had passed because they wanted to have their dad or their grandfather, or their mom there at the parade with them during that time because they all just watched so many Astros games together. That time period for me, reflecting on it, was just a time period of pure joy, and it still is. Yeah. And I have it tattooed on my arm. The city with kind of like some negative drip going down with the Be Someone sign.
Oh yeah.
With the astronaut kind of holding his arms up as an indication of kind of picking the city up during that time period. And it's just something that I'll never forget. And I think that kind of, I was already lived in Houston and loved Houston, but that's kind of that time period just from late August to, November is something that the reason I'll probably always have roots here.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. We like to hear that.
Yeah.
You're a Texan by choice now.
Texan by choice. My daughter is Texan.
Yeah.
She's Houstonian.
100%. That's right.
For real. For real.
Born and raised. Well, we don't want you to leave. And I want a caveat for the audience. I know I don't ask like really good baseball questions. I'm not a sportscaster. I'm a political guy. Okay, so I just know that people are gonna be like, oh, you got to ask him about that one time at the one pitch. And I'm like, I don't know. It's not. It's not who I am. I'm not a sportscaster. So next World Series, and you've been injured in the last World Series. That was a painful one, man.
Yes,
that was especially because I had to be in DC. So often, during this entire series, I'm going back and forth between DC and Houston. I never got to be in Houston when there was a game in Houston, which is maybe good because we lost every game in Houston, which was, what the hell was happening there? Like,
it was just a crazy series.
Why couldn't a team win at their hometown?
I don't know. It was nuts. We lost the first two at home, and I was in, like you said, I wasn't playing. I was in Florida rehabbing, and I work out at this place in Florida, and there's a lady who goes there. She's a huge Nationals fan, and she won the first two, and every day she was
singing that stupid Baby Shark song the whole time.
No, she wasn't. But she was wearing her Nationals stuff, loud and proud, and then we won 3 in a row in Nationals Park, and then I come back to the gym, and there was no National stuff in sight, and I was like, "Hey, what's wrong?" She's like, "No, we're just not going to do it. I'm like, it's only 3-2. You know, you guys still have a chance, thinking like we're going to close it out at home.
Just making her feel better.
And then they won 2 at home, and in like grand style. It was an amazing series. It really was a great baseball series.
That's true.
It was a great baseball series.
As painful as it was.
It was, and sometimes it just happens, man. They had a great year. They scuffled out of the gate, and a lot of people wrote them off, and they kind of just kept clawing, fighting, got in that wild card game, won the game against the Brewers, basically because of a misplay in left field. They were losing the whole game. You have Josh Hader come in the game, who you're thinking this is a wrap, and then you have a misplay ball in right field, and then they just roll through, and they just got the better of us.
They can just switch like that, I guess. Yeah, my DC experience. I obviously have a place here in Houston, then I have a place in DC, a smaller place, and it's right near. It's in Navy Yard, right near the stadium. So I just got to listen to it all. It was painful.
It was tough. It still is tough because we share a spring training complex with them.
Oh, really?
So our first year down at the spring training complex was after the 2017 World Series. So we were, very proud and loud about our banners up there and the World Series thing. And so they've been loud and proud about it so far when we were down there for spring. Yeah. But they deserve it. Like I said, it's baseball. It happens. You try to have short memories, and it was painful for me. It was anxiety filled. I'm sitting in a hotel room watching these games, wishing and I could be there and try to be a part of it. But it'll be a better story when we get back there and win another one.
Yeah, we'd like to see that happen. I will say I did go to one game at Nats Stadium, and obviously we won that one, so that was good. It was funny. It was so funny because I was wherever I was sitting. I don't have great seats, and so be watching. And I remember one home run, and I couldn't tell, right? I couldn't see the ball very well.
We hit it.
Yeah.
Did Springer?
Maybe, I don't remember. I just remember not being able to see it and not knowing what had happened. Like, okay, was that foul? Was that in?
Right.
And then I knew that we did it because I see one guy in orange jumping up and down.
One random person from across the stadium.
But it's just complete silence. Like there's no reaction to it. It was. I think that was the game that President Trump was at also.
Yeah, there were some viral clips that postseason of some Astros fans donning their bright orange and opposing parks and going crazy. It was fun to see. It was cool.
There was a small group of us. Proud.
We appreciate everyone who travels on the road, especially in the hostile playoff environments.
Yeah. I wasn't attacked, which was good.
You weren't spit on?
Yeah, considing who I am.
If it was in Washington, you would have been spit on.
Yeah.
It was an hour and a half northeast. Who would have been spit on?
Yeah. So I went to college in Boston, and so going to Boston Yankees Red Sox games.
Yeah.
Those are intense. They're not as intense now as they used to be. Before.
What year do you think they were like the peak?
Well, I was in Boston in 2004 when the Red Sox won, first time in however many years, right? And it was like after that happened, it was sort of a pressure release valve. But before that happened, it was hyper intense.
Okay.
And the animosity between Red Sox and Yankees fans was so intense. I mean, I'd be in the stadium and just the cops would be running over you to go break up fights like constantly.
Wow.
It was intense. It was and it's such a cool stadium.
I went to Fenway.
Yeah.
I was
like, wow, why can't I think of it? But
I went to Fenway for a Yankees Boston series one time growing up. It was so I actually. Well, because I'm from Tampa, and Yankees spring training complex is in Tampa. My dad played for them, so I did grow up a little bit of a Yankees fan. And so I went up there one year in 2006 with my buddy who's a Boston Red Sox fan, and we saw a 4-game series, Yankees versus Boston in Fenway. And I was rocking the pinstripes. I was rocking my Yankee stuff. And I think people took it easy on me because I was a little kid.
Yeah. But they weren't happy.
They weren't happy, I don't think. No. But
it's such an intense rivalry.
It was fun. It was cool though. It was really cool. And then just playing in those stadiums though, like warming up for ALCS game 4, I had like at least 4 beers poured on me. Just like pregame. I smelled like Budweiser.
Jeez.
Yeah, the whole game. Just like I'm talking like
come on, people.
A full thing poured on you. Just like right on top of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just such a disrespectful action to take.
Yeah, it is. It is. But it got me locked in for the game because I was nervous. I remember I was nervous for that game. And when that started happening, I think I just got kind of pissed.
Yeah.
And I just kind of forgot everything that happened. I pitched really well. So thank you for those guys who poured that beer on my head.
So
got me locked in.
Well, okay. Now I want to ask. Now that leads me into one question I wanted to ask you, which was, what kind of mental games or preparation are you doing when you're on the mound and there's so many distractions all around you, and you've got to execute a pretty surgical action here? You know, throwing a ball very, very fast into what I would consider a pretty small area. And you got to do that a lot, and you got to do it really, really well. I mean, what do you do? How do you make that happen?
Man, you know, I guess it's just I kind of have a process when I'm out there on the hill, much more now than I did before I got hurt. Being hurt gave me an opportunity to really try to broaden my knowledge of like how I'm going to approach pitching in games and how I'm going to approach facing teams and facing batters. And, you know, my downtime was terribly painful to not be with the team, but it gave me a unique opportunity to kind of recharge a little bit and kind of refocus on how I was going to do things. So like my process became, when I'm on the hill, my first part of my process is just breathing. Just make sure you're breathing, make sure I'm controlling my own breath. My second process would be just like laser focus, or as people have been saying a lot, kind of like the Mamba mindset. You know, just 100% locked in on what you're doing. So if I'm throwing a curveball, I'm not worried about the previous pitch. I'm not worried about the next pitch. I'm trying to throw the best curveball I can throw in that moment. And my third one is just confidence, because you know, as a pitcher, if you're second guessing yourself, which will happen. Like I'll be like I used to be like mid wind up and be like, am I throwing the right pitch here?
Oh, that's bad.
So like, that's not a whole lot of, there's not a whole lot of, you know, confidence behind that. So my third one is just confidence. Pick a pitch, roll with it. I'm confident with that pitch. And then my fourth one is just straight up attack. Just attack the batter, attack the zone, and kind of be the aggressor. So that was helping me a lot in spring. But really, when you're out there, all of the kind of noise and the mind game and stuff, they kind of start to fade away. It kind of starts becoming your body is just, this is what we do. You know. But before the game, the bullpen, especially, I'll say, okay, like in Boston, for example. I mean, they're from me from me to you. I mean, they are on top of you, and you hear everything, and they know everything about you and about your family, and they leave. Talking
about the fans.
The fans, they leave nothing unsaid. But it's all part of it. I guess.
Oh, I know. I've been there.
So
I know what they're like. How much of that is? It almost sounds like you're a good test taker. Maybe that's the way I would describe it. And in the SEAL teams, I think we operate sort of on the same thing. It's like when you're in it, you're just in it, and it's hard to teach that. And I'm not sure. Some of that must be just innate. You know, you're either a good test taker or you're not. You're nervous beforehand, but then you get on there and then you just do it. And you know, how much of that, of those four things you said, how much of that is consciously telling yourself that, and how much of that is you just looking back at it and analyzing it and then putting it into words?
Well, I think my quote unquote process has come from all of the things like looking back on games or looking back on, you know, time periods and trying to figure out like, what could I have been doing better in those moments, in those games? Like the thing that I do a lot, I watch a lot of my bad games, which is not, I don't think a lot of people do that. It's not very popular.
I hate watching myself on TV or something. It's horrible.
So I watch a lot of my bad games, and I'll be sitting there thinking like, Lance, you're such a dumbass. You know, like, what are you doing in this game? I mean, and I can look at myself and I can be like, I wasn't under control. I wasn't under control. You know, so I journal. I wasn't under control. I either didn't, and I always put the preparation in before. So it's more of a I was second guessing myself, or you know, maybe for whatever reason, you know, I was facing a guy in the 7th or 8th hole, and I kind of took a couple pitches off, and then I walk him on 5 pitches, and I'm like, that's 5 pitches I just lost for this game. I got 100 pitches, so I just lost, not 10%, but 5% of my pitch count, simply because I wasn't locked in. Yeah. I was taking pitches off. So a lot of that has been like reflecting on what I used to do and then putting into action and then being like preparing with it. So preparing in lifts.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it anything I'm doing now. So if I'm reading, I'm like 100% committed to reading. Mm-hmm. If I'm taking care of my daughter, if I'm playing with my daughter, if I'm watching a TV show, if I'm doing the dishes, anything I'm doing, it's like I have my process and I'm doing it. So it's starting to become like a part of me.
Interesting. So yeah, you're building these small habits that really translate into your ultimate goal of pitching that pitch perfectly.
Yeah. So I want to walk that way. I don't want it to be something where I do once every 5 days and I have to like flip the switch.
Yeah.
I want to walk like that.
It's such an important piece of advice, I think. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think when people
I do, because I literally I write that.
Really?
I write about that. Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Exact process. Like I call it living your plan A.
Yeah.
And it's like, because no plan B is so the way I describe no plan B in the SEAL teams, what I mean by that is the only way to make it through SEAL training and BUDS, which is an acronym for basic underwater demolition / SEAL training. The only way to make it through that is to know ahead of time you were never going to quit. Right. Like there was never a thought like, oh, I was going to quit.
No doubt.
Yeah. There was just no doubt. And I was just going to suffer through it, and I was going to hate it, but I was going to suffer through it and do it. And there was no like plan B in my mind. And then but that means something more than just not quitting. It also means living with purpose. Mm-hmm. It also means that these little things matter because that ultimate thing, whatever it is, it's different for everybody. For you, it's throwing that perfect pitch. But to get into that process, you do have to live by that process constantly, right. and make the little things matter. So that is fascinating. I mean, I don't get to talk to a lot of like professional athletes. Yeah. I'm not actually sure I'd get to talk to any professional athletes, because I did text JJ Watt once, and that didn't go well.
No?
Did you see that?
Oh, I did see something about that.
Well, remember,
you put it on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you remember, yeah. So remember, he put out a tweet that was like, "Hey, text me at this number, and I'll text you back." And he texted like 5 people back, I'm sure. But really, it's a data collection mechanism. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, it's generally what you do if you want to collect a bunch of data, because for whatever reason he's collecting data to maybe for charity. I don't know. He's a good dude.
Yes, he is.
But not good enough to text me back. And so I made this video. I made this like funny video of me texting him all day, like. And I actually got on the phone with Verizon in this video, and they weren't in on it. And I was like, and the lady from Verizon's on, and they're like, okay, so what's wrong? And I'm like, well, I think one of my friends is getting my text, and I know he's trying to text me back, but it's just not coming through. And she's like, well, maybe that's happening.
Or maybe they're just not texting you back.
Yeah, she lets me down like really nice, because I'm like, yeah, I mean, it must be his service. It must be his service. Because she was like, well, it might be possible. I'm like, oh, exactly. Yeah, like it's definitely his service. And she's like, well, do you know that he's texting you back? And I'm like, well, no. Yeah, maybe not. She's like, do you know him?
Well, I have his number.
Like she figured it out eventually. It's such a good video. It's like if people are interested, it's like buried deep in my Instagram at this point. But I was very proud of that little comedy routine. In any case, even with that video with like millions of views via Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, it never made it to him. Never got back to me.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm a little hurt. I just assumed he'd been kidnapped or something. I was like, I just hope he's okay.
How are you going to kidnap that man?
That's a fair point. I don't know. Maybe they like, who knows?
Yeah. You better roll heavy. You better roll deep.
Do you know JJ Watt?
I know JJ.
So he texts you back.
We Instagram back and forth sometimes. Yeah. I think we've been like mostly our Instagram shoots back and forth mostly when like an injury will pop up.
Yeah.
Just because like I feel for him. I think he feels for me a little bit. So we'll kind of pop back and forth. But I think that for anyone kind of in life trying to like do anything. So like for my rehab, for example, I hated rehab.
Yeah.
Like for my elbow, I hated like elbow rehab. I had to be careful with that. Cause like people who don't know me,
you want to rush
like, hey, like, why are you down in Florida? I'm like, oh, I'm in rehab. And they're like, oh, I'm like, no.
Praying for you. Yeah.
Let me back up. But no, seriously. So I hated rehab, but I love rehab.
Well, it's good for you, but it's takes a lot of patience, and you don't feel like you're. I mean, I've done a lot of rehab. I've been injured a lot in my life, so I get it. It takes a lot of patience. I mean, you don't feel like you're making progress fast enough. I mean, is that why you hate it, or?
Well, no, it's like it's part of like what you're saying, like live your plan A. It's like even the things that you come up on in life. Like these, I guess, roadblocks, or like if you're in buds, I mean, I would never attempt to do that. But I would assume that during that time period, you hated that, but you loved it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I hated my rehab, but I loved it. And I kind of like threw myself into it. And like ultimately the thing that I disliked most about my rehab, ended up by like making my rehab like worthwhile. And came out the other side like so much better, along with the things I've been doing, like live your plan A. Like don't just put something into action and like hope it just comes to fruition, or like say I'm going to work on this for 2 hours a day. It's like you have to live that way. So I'm excited to read that part in your book.
Yeah, it is exciting. I remember rehabbing my pectoral tendon tear. So I tore that thing.
JJ had one of those, I think.
Oh, well, I wouldn't know. 'Cause
another thing you guys could talk about.
He doesn't hang out with me. Not that I care, just to be clear. Okay.
Clearly not.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I'm not angry about this. Okay. So I tore that thing falling down a mountain, skiing. And I was fighting off some ISIS bear. I won't get into the details, but I won.
It's classified.
Yeah, it's classified. It was in Vail. ISIS had infiltrated Vail Mountain. And I stopped it.
Thank goodness you were there.
I stopped it.
Who knows what would have happened if you weren't.
But I did fall. And because I wouldn't have fallen skiing any other way.
Never.
So in that fall, in all seriousness, my ski popped off as I kind of like went down this thing. And then I was tumbling, and then boom, just like pops. It wasn't that bad of an injury. It didn't feel that bad. Like I felt something was wrong, but
Did it burn?
No, it was it felt like it was on. I could still move my arm. Like you still have basic motion with when you tear a pectoral tendon. And it's hurting, but you're like, maybe I just sprained it really bad. And
right.
I'm like, I'm going to keep skiing. So I kept skiing because it was my last day. But I did notice that every time
day of skiing or last day of your mission?
Well, both.
Oh,
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. It was kind of like an off-duty mission. Like I wasn't expecting, like an off-duty cop like stops a robbery or something. It was kind of like that.
Oh, got it.
It was kind of like that. And then, but every time I would like pull, like it would like quiver like in this crazy way. So I was like, I think something's actually wrong. And, lo and behold, the next day it's like really bad.
Yep.
And something's really wrong. Again, it's not that bad, but the surgery is awful.
Awful.
And I've had bad surgery. I've had my eye removed. Do you think I don't know bad surgeries? Like I know bad surgery.
Your eye removed?
Yeah.
I was kidding.
Oh, that's why it's like. Granted, I was like totally unconscious for the technical eye removal.
Right. But the after.
Yeah. I mean, I know what it's like to recover from some crazy ass surgeries. I've had my jaw broken. I've crushed my hand under an ATV, although that didn't require surgery. Amazingly, not a single bone broke in my hand, which was like, you looked at my hand and you were like, you shattered it.
Yeah.
It looked shattered. It looked like, we called it the meat puppet. Because I had an because I'll tell you why. Because so an ATV basically rolled over my hand.
Okay.
My fault entirely. Like I rolled over the ATV and then my hand was there.
Got it.
And so we go to the emergency room, and I mean, it just looks terrible. And they're like, we're just going to see how many bones are broken. This isn't a matter of if.
It's like we need to assess the damage here.
Right. Because I mean, that's just what you do. You X-ray the hand that's smashed.
Right. And
then they're like, well, no broken bones. And I'm like, I am like Wolverine, just like I thought. But I actually just that was a training trip out in Island, which is like 2 hours east of San Diego.
Okay.
Where we do our like desert warfare training or land warfare training and mobility training, which is riding vehicles around. And I just kind of kept training, and I would kind of wrap it in a plastic bag because we're doing mobility, which means like I don't need to like work a gun. I don't need to like do too much with my hand, so I can continue training to an extent,
right?
And just keep the meat puppet kind of elevated because I couldn't put it down because the meat puppet would fill with blood.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And so the meat puppet had to be stood up like this and wrapped in a plastic bag to keep it like safe. And everybody just eventually started, so it looked like a puppet. And all the guys just started calling it the meat puppet. It was
that stick.
No. They had much worse nicknames for me. This is the SEAL team after all. So they were, I can't repeat the nicknames.
It's okay. It's okay.
It would just be that bad. Yeah. That is so. Anyway, that was once. So I guess that wasn't a surgery, but jaw broken. I had a bullet ricochet into my leg before. Didn't require surgery.
Same.
Well, really?
No.
Oh, I mean, I thought it happened to everybody. We were just shooting steel, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I shoot steel quite often with actually Carlos. And
really?
We were out there one time.
Oh, we'll have to go.
Yeah, I would love to. And there was a guy who's on the STI National Championship shooting team.
Oh, yeah.
And he was telling us about, shooting on like not even cheap, but steel in general, and like how dangerous it can be.
Yeah.
And he saw a dude. I think he saw a dude die.
What?
Yeah.
From a ricochet.
That's
impressive.
like in the head.
Yeah, I guess it can't have. You got to be careful. I mean, you got to.
You're standing off to the side.
Yeah. You got to make sure your angles are correct and the caliber you're using, the type of steel. There's a lot of factors, but it's safe as long as you're smart about it. That's a shame. Jeez.
I don't think he died, but we have a lot of fun shooting steel.
Yeah,
we'll go.
It's great.
It's like an hour outside of Houston. We'll go.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a couple places. We'll go to your places. Go to my places.
Sweet.
Shoot a bunch of steel. I still like to shoot. I mean, I have to shoot my rifle left-handed now, obviously, but I figured it out. So that's because I lost my.
So
right
you've had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, and I guess we were talking about rehab. So that one, the pectoral tendon was my worst. Out of I've broken my leg. I've crushed my hand. I've broken my jaw. Actually, breaking your jaw really sucks because you can't eat.
Yep.
So that kind of sucks. I'll be honest. And then getting blown up obviously sucks. I guess that was worse.
That was probably one of the worst ones.
Yeah. That was like a literal nightmare in so many ways. Obviously, but I guess the more normal surgery of my pectoral tendon running out. The reason that rehab sucks is because you're so immobile at first. I mean, you start out with like, you bend over and they're like, you're just going to hang your arm and slowly do little circles with it. And like, that's today's rehab. And you're like, God, I'm not making any progress.
Never going to do anything. My first day of rehab was trying to open my hand because it was just like dead fished, but they were like, try to open your hand. So when I got it open, then it was like touching my pinky to my thumb, my ring, my middle, my pointer. Like it was just going back and forth.
So how terrifying is that considering your entire job is being a pitcher?
Well, so when they do the surgery, your main nerve of your arm, and I'm going blank on it, I should know what it's called, but the nerve in your arm, sometimes they move it, but other times they kind of just like graze it or like try to like not hit it too much, and then they cut a bunch of nerves from the top of your skin and everything. So like my arm from probably the top of my forearm down to my wrist was numb for probably let's call it 3 months.
Yeah. So are you pretty worried you'd even be able to?
I was terrified.
Pitch again?
Yeah, but everyone was like, "No, it's normal." And I was like, "Man, but you're going through it for the first time. Ulnar nerve, that's what it's called. It's ulnar nerve." But you're going through it for the first time, and I was 25, and my wife was pregnant, and I'm like, "Am I ever going to pitch again?"
Yeah.
And that's still a question because who knows if we're ever going to play baseball again. But
you just pitched a no hitter. You said
I did. You're right.
So you're doing pretty well.
I did, but it was an unpaid no hitter.
Yeah.
So those aren't always the best.
That's true.
But it was a scary time. But like I said, you kind of just throw yourself into that rehab, and what you hated about it becomes what you love about it, and you come out a better version of yourself than you started, and that's what happened with me.
I have a couple more baseball questions. One is, so it seems fairly obvious to me how you become a pitcher. Like you're just really good at pitching. Okay, got it. We'll make that guy a pitcher. He throws real hard, as you put it. What about all the other positions? How do guys? I don't come from a baseball background at all. I just don't know how this happens. How do you move into that position?
So when you're young, if you're the best player, you probably play shortstop. When you're super young, shortstop or first base, because those are the guys that can catch at first base, and then the guys at shortstop. When you're younger, you kind of just like float in the middle of the infield. You know, there's no real positions, but typically most of the balls go in that area. I guess because most of the kids are righties and they just kind of like roll it over. So when you're young, the shortstop and the first baseman are kind of like the most like athletic of the kids out there. And as you kind of grow older, if you're fast with a good arm, you go to the outfield. Okay. And the fastest ones usually go to center, and then the ones with the good arm split into the corners. Okay. And then if you're then the infielders are all those shortstops or first basemen that were great at catching and athletic when they were young. Yeah. So it depends on kind of your size, but you'll kind of get moved around the infield a little bit. Yeah. And then you kind of just roll from there. But then as you get older, everyone starts getting pretty good and kind of start filtering into the positions that they want to play. Okay. When you get to the, middle school age, I would say. Like 12, 13, kids are starting to play where they want to play, where they see themselves, or where they enjoy the most. But typically pitchers just come from guys who throw hard and probably used to play shortstop at some point, but just don't have what it's going to take for the next level. So then they become pitchers, like me.
What you're saying? You're kind of making it sound like being a pitcher is like a step down.
I wouldn't say it's a step down. It's a step. It's a lateral move.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you kind of pitchers are like the stars, and
you're like, okay,
as long as you don't screw up.
I'm not gonna be Carlos Correa because I went to a showcase with him one time and was actually played second base at an All-American game. He played shortstop, and I'm like, well, I'm not as good as that kid, and he looks like A-Rod, and so I think I'm gonna go back to the hill because that's where I shined. I had a great fastball from very young, and I had a great curveball. Yeah, and so you kind of just gravitate. It's like anything in life, I think. You gravitate to what you're best at, what position you're best at. And everyone growing up watches baseball or, whatever. And kids know, you're 13, 14, if they're realistic with themselves, they can say, hey, I'm good at this, I'm not good at this, and maybe I'm not good at anything, but I love it, so I'm still going to play. So I just kind of gradually went towards pitching because I realized that was my in.
That makes sense. I guess that's sort of like, if I'm thinking about my soccer career as a kid, that's sort of how it happens too. You just kind of end up somewhere, and you're not even sure why. In hindsight, there's some skill sets have something to do with that. You just end up being better at some things, but I guess you just end up there. Why do so many baseball players chew? Because like in the military we dip. Most
players dip.
Is it dip? Really? Okay. Yeah. Because in the military, it's all Copenhagen I'm more of a grizzly wintergreen, which was just outlawed by the House of Representatives a couple weeks ago. People don't realize that. It's ridiculous. So I just want to point this out. I'm going to get political for a second.
I'll let you go.
When President Trump asked for $2.5 billion for coronavirus funding, this was
a week ago.
No, this was the first tranche of money that was needed. Like this is when we really started thinking, okay, this is coming. And he said, hey, you know what? We need $2.5 billion. We've got to back up some of our pandemic funding that's been exhausted. And he got destroyed in the media. Democrats lost their minds, and they're like, "How could you not take? You need to ask for $8 billion." And he's like, "Well, okay, fine, give me $8 billion." Like, but they never actually proposed anything that week. Instead, they outlawed flavored tobacco. That was the big legislative move on the House floor that week.
Standing ovation.
Yeah, and so because they wanted to get it vaping, that's the goal, but they ended up banning flavored tobacco, which is like hookah. Flavored menthols,
like all over the U.S.
Yeah,
see, this is what I'm saying.
I'm not even sure that's constitutional. Well, it won't be made law. It won't. The Senate won't take it up.
Right. Okay.
We passed about a bazillion crazy things out of the House of Representatives this last year and a half that will never make into law. Thank goodness.
Which people don't understand. It's a law now.
Yeah,
it was passed. I'm like, no, not yet.
Not yet. And until the president signs it, it's not law. And thank God, because we passed some crazy stuff out of the House of Representatives. Part of me thinks they just do it mostly to signal to their base. They know it won't become law,
Right.
and so they know they won't have to hear the consequences of some of these actions, because there's a lot of second and third order effects to many of these actions. So since I've started talking about politics, I want to ask about, because you delve into this to an extent, like you're not heavy on the politics by any means.
Yeah.
But you do voice some support for conservatism as a whole. So what's the right balance? I mean, there's a real debate in America. I don't know if it's a debate. It's just it's a conversation. It's more of a yelling match about how much celebrities should, and whether in sports or pop culture or comedy or Hollywood should be involved in politics. And obviously it annoys us conservatives quite a bit when Hollywood's always
Well, it depends
off.
on what side you're on.
Yeah. Well,
How much you're allowed to
does.
say.
Yeah, that's true. So what are your thoughts, just generally speaking?
I just think that I'm an athlete. I'm a professional baseball player, but I'm a human first, and I'm an American first. Before all that, before I was a baseball player, I was a person, and I was born in the greatest country in the world, and if I feel extremely compelled by something, I'm just not gonna hold my tongue if it comes up. I'm not searching for it. And a lot of people think that athletes shouldn't. They think that we should not give our opinions, and we should just play because we represent a base of people who have differing opinions. But in my opinion, I think that people being able to have their own views and being able to discuss them like real people, and being able to, although we may not see eye to eye on certain things, be able to respect each other, and then at the end of the day still move forward and support one another or be friends, whatever the case may be, is part of what made America the best country ever. And I think we've lost that. And I think that if you say, I think both sides are guilty of it. I think if you say you're a supporter of one or the other, you're automatically a bad person, or you're automatically they don't respect you, or whatever the case may be. So when things come up that I feel just really passionate about, I kind of will fire off opinions here and there.
Yeah.
And I think that people should be able to say what they want, just because I play and represent a group of people. I'm still my own individual person.
Yeah. And I guess I have to get my own head straight on this, because I, as a staunch conservative politician, this is my world.
Yep.
I'm always encouraging conservative, whether it's conservative celebrities or conservative, professional sports players like you, speak out, please, because we need help, because we're being overwhelmed by
social media,
by the celebrity left. But at the same time, I do believe that celebrities, mostly on the left, have created a division in America by using their platform to call half the country stupid.
Yep.
And what this does to us is it kind of takes away, whether it's sports or pop culture, comedy, movies, it's like our last cultural thing that we share. And I don't want politics ruining that either. But at the same time, the left took it over, and so now we have to fight back, and we have to have our own kind of outspoken people as well. And I don't know what the right answer is. I guess
I think the right answer is to just get rid of social media and turn all the news stations off.
Quarantine.
This is the opposite effect of what we needed, because that's more.
I've noticed Netflix is going a lot slower recently.
Netflix won't load. I'm trying to watch The All-American this morning, and I'm like, what the hell is going on with the Wi-Fi?
Yeah, so you're having it too. I think there's something to that. Everybody's
restart
watching
the router, babe.
Everybody's watching.
I did it 4 times.
Everybody's still watching Tiger King.
Yeah.
What are you guys watching?
The All-American.
All-American.
It's based off of a true story of a.
I don't know this show. Is it a show? Okay.
It's a show. Yeah, he was a former NFL player. Grew up in Crenshaw, California.
Oh.
And it's a.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. It's a.
My namesake.
Yes. I didn't even put that together. But yes,
Crenshaw Boulevard. It's infamous. It's in all the rap songs.
It is a lot of them, but it kind of follows. It's based on a true story. He actually the former NFL player. His name's Spencer. In the show, I think. Yeah. I'm only on episode like 3, but it follows he helps produce a show, and it follows his life and from Crenshaw to the ultimate to the NFL. We're watching that right now. What else have we watched? Everything on Disney Plus. A lot of Hulu cooking shows.
Okay.
We're trying to just do what we can.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not watching Tiger King though.
We're gonna start. I think we're gonna start. I mean, I'm just gonna
do it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's talking
like the push-up
about
challenge.
It. Yeah,
I'm not gonna do it based off principle.
Everybody's talking about it. I was mildly interested in it before it was a thing, and so I'm figuring why not. We, my wife got me into Love Is Blind.
Oh yeah, my wife watched that.
That was ridiculous.
I couldn't do it.
That was ridiculous.
I couldn't do it.
It got boring after a while. But it was there was some good drama in there that's pretty funny to watch. It makes you feel better about yourself.
But going back to your original question about, speaking out and, I think that people as a whole, athlete, non-athlete, celebrity, non-celebrity, I should be able to speak out for what I believe in and not have to feel bad about it, not be chastised about it. Yeah. Just like everybody else does. I think
agree.
that more people should, be able to speak their mind and do it in a way where they don't feel like they're going to be, the headline news or anything like that. So it's tough though. It's tough because the screen effect is in place and people don't hold back. And then I can't go too far.
Yeah.
Because I'm always going to be the one that should have known better.
Well, what I think is, the balance you strike is probably right. And if it's an issue and you know about the issue and you want to talk about it, by all means, just talk about it. Nobody's going to stop you, that's for sure. Just like I would never as much as it annoys me that Kathy Griffin says everything she says and that people in Hollywood say the things they say, I would never try to stop them from saying it. I guess my message to them would be, learn about what you're saying, and also just don't insult everybody. Because when you talk about whatever issue you're talking about, you're not insulting people.
No,
and that's really where the division comes in. Is it's they get on their little selfie cameras and they just start swearing at the president, and they think they're
like Michael Rappaport.
Yeah, it's just there's so many examples. It's just out of control, and they go after people, and I think that's. If we're gonna have a standard, like maybe that's all I ask the standard to be for these folks, because the problem is when we can't share the same culture anymore.
Well, my thing about it is so people will go off on their rants, but then when you do, if you differ an opinion from them, then they don't accept it.
Yeah,
they call you stupid or say you can't say that, or but they can say it, but I can't.
There's no self-awareness, at all,
none.
Like it's in our culture, and it's just like we all need to take a step back.
It's a screen effect.
Yeah,
it's a screen.
Yeah, I think that's true. It makes you think like it makes you feel like it's not real. Yeah,
like it's an AI or something, or you're like gonna put on like an optic. I never opticals. I never put those on before.
Yeah,
but like I got off. I'm basically off Twitter now full time, and I have an hour limit on my Instagram.
Oh, you have a self-limiting Instagram.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Just trying to fill my time with things that don't stress me out so much or piss me off is a better way to say it.
I have no time limit on Instagram, but I can't either. It's sort of, my job is literally to communicate with people. So I I have to be on it. My wife doesn't believe this. She's like, get off of the phone.
Right. I have to be on it.
I'm like, I'm working.
This is work.
Yeah.
This is not for enjoyment.
Yeah.
It was popular questions when we won the World Series and people asked me, are you going to go to the White House? And I said, why wouldn't I go to the White House?
Yeah. And
they said, well,
because Trump's
president. I said, well, that's fine. I said, but, I'm sure there were a lot of conservative athletes who went to the White House when Obama was president.
Yeah.
I would have gone to the White House when Obama was president.
I
because you respect the office, you respect the that signifies the most. That's like one of the most signifying pieces of architecture in the world. It says freedom. It's part of America. You know, if you live here and you live under, you know, kind of our umbrella of freedom, why wouldn't you want to go to that place and be able to see? I was even like just amazed by like the China room.
Yeah.
They have a China room of like every president in the China they had.
Yeah.
I thought that was super cool. Like just things like that, things that you would never see like in a million years.
That's a cool place.
So people were like, I can't believe you know, on social media, I can't believe you would go to that. It's like, what do you mean?
Can't believe you wouldn't.
I can't believe you wouldn't go to something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think people got their priorities messed up. I think we live in a culture where people got it twisted.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I mean, the Olympics, the Women's World Cup, it got politicized so much, and it's just infuriating. I mean, it's like you said, and I think we've sort of figured out the right balance during this conversation. It's like, by all means, if you have an issue and you're like, hey, like taxes, you know, you think taxes should be higher because you want government to control more things. Okay, fine. Like, explain that. Use your platform and then go through the policy. But don't use your platform to say Republicans are just evil baby killers, or, well, I guess we say that, but you know what I mean, like, or evil this, evil that. But it's just ridiculous. Just stop.
I think what has happened, and this is my opinion for everyone listening, so just gotta accept it. I think the social media and the news, especially the fake news, has pushed everyone to like just so far to like their individual sides.
Yeah.
You know, I think more people in their heart and are a lot more moderate. There's a lot of, I think people can see things on both sides, but like, yeah, that makes sense, or yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
But
if I tell people like this is actually a Democrat policy, and I'll explain to them my typical ideas of limited government, and they'll be like, yeah, exactly that, and I'll be like, well, I think you're voting wrong.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I just think that people have been pushed so far, you know, away from each other that it's just, you have to agree and you have to see eye to eye, or you're automatically, you know, stupid, or you're automatically ignorant, or whatever the case may be. And I think that's the main problem, is people just are super sensitive. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah,
sensitive.
The notion that it says something about your character just because you have an opinion on something, like, that's the thing that has to stop.
Yeah. I just think people just need to find more common ground.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's a good way, you know, if you're ever in debate and you're ever trying to persuade somebody, is you do have to try to focus on the things you might agree on, and then go from there. Now, that tactic only works if both people are somewhat open to it. And the problem is that it really has become a zero-sum game. Political debate has, and it really is about owning the libs or owning the cons, and you know, that's just not the right thing to do. And I guess people would accuse me of doing that all the time too. I'm sure, but the way I try to do it is I try to lay out all the facts and the logical arguments as to why something is wrong. You know, because I mean, my Here's the Truth videos that I put on Instagram are literally just always debunking why the left is wrong. And it's one thing to say, well, they're wrong because they're stupid and they hate people, and, you know, whatever. I could say that. That would be one insulting way to do it. But I don't do that. I say, listen, it would have these consequences, and like, this is how you get from this policy to these consequences, and this is why I would never vote for that, and this is why you should not support that. Right. You know, like, we have to remember our lessons in critical thinking from school. And to a large extent, I feel like America's forgotten those lessons, or maybe we're not teaching them anymore. It does seem to me that college campuses in many ways are not teaching that, at least the elite institutions. They're teaching ideology instead of actual critical thinking and challenging people. And then when you do challenge students, they call it a microaggression, or they need to go to a safe space. And like this, that's crazy. It's crazy. One of my recent guests was
people are too sensitive.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's this notion that speech has become violence is really permeated our culture. And, you know, you got to get more people into sports, I think, because not everybody's going to become a SEAL, but a lot of people can join sports, and you get a lot of those same lessons from being on a team.
I tell people that all the time. People ask me, what is the one thing like you'll take away from sports? Like, what would you tell somebody that maybe loves sports, but maybe doesn't see a future in it? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, sports is going to set you up. It's going to teach you how to deal with failure. It's going to teach you how to be accountable. It's going to teach you how to work with people you don't like. I mean, it's really going to like set you up for like what you need moving forward. Yeah. And so like, that's like one of my big, I talk to kids a lot, and that's like one of my like encouraging points is like, if the worst thing you get out of sports is learning those 4 things, and learning how to just like be a better, like learning how to handle things and like learning critical thinking, like you're saying, is your worst case scenario, then get out there.
You're handling loss, you're handling winning, you're handling being a good winner, you're handling competition. Sports, it sort of evolved, I think, in throughout our evolution as a way to simulate warfare, because we are a warring people. Like that's just in our genetic code. And sports simulates that to an extent, but in a healthy way, and it's so important for our culture. And it's great for people to become a part of. There's so many healthy ways to compete, and it prepares you for society. Because if you're going to live in a free society, you have to be comfortable with competition. You have to be comfortable with a meritocracy. If you're not comfortable with those things, you might start advocating for socialism. And so there's a direct connection between this cultural problem where people don't like competition. People aren't mentally tough enough to deal with competition. They don't feel like personal responsibility is a real value. And so they advocate for socialism because socialism takes all that away. By definition, it takes it all away. Now, it doesn't work because you can't have a whole culture full of people who engage in those or who have a lack of those values. But that's where it comes from. I think I spent a lot of time thinking about this.
No, keep going. You're preaching. I'm loving it over here.
And so as I sort of analyze the psychology
should speak
of
to
it,
people from socialist nations.
Right.
People should talk to them more.
Venezuelans
people should talk to the people that have fled.
Yeah. There's so many Venezuelans here in
Venezuela.
Houston. Yeah.
People should talk to them.
Yeah. I was disappointed in the Republicans, frankly, because there was a vote to give Venezuelans, additional immigration rights, and I was one of the few Republicans to vote for that.
Yeah,
I'm like, you guys don't, these are like the Cubans. It's just different. These Cubans, these Venezuelans that come here, these are going to be some of the best Americans that we could have. I mean, they're just, and I'm a little biased. I mean, growing up in South America for so long, I understand the culture very well. My parents moved to Venezuela actually after I went to college. Okay. So I graduated high school in Bogota, and then my parents maybe a couple of years later moved to Caracas. And so I've been to Caracas a whole number of times. And it was
Jose Altuve.
Yeah. Oh, is he
from Maracay?
Okay.
Yeah.
I might have been there too. I can't remember where I'd traveled to, but it was so long ago.
A couple big leaguers from Maracay.
Really?
Yeah, him. I think Miguel Cabrera. I think Elvis Andrus maybe from Maracay too. I think there's a couple. There's quite a few from that like little town.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What is it around the world? I'm glad you brought this up because I wanted to ask you, or comment myself on the how interesting it is that the great American pastime sort of has sprouted up into hot spots around the world. Whether it's sort of these Caribbean nations, because it's definitely not a thing in Colombia. But it is in Venezuela,
right?
Because it's more of a Caribbean nation. Colombia does have like a Caribbean part to it, of course. But Cubans are obviously big in baseball. Oh, yeah. But then in like Korea and Japan, oh my God! So I did my last deployment in South Korea.
It's huge.
And it was. I went to a couple of baseball games there. It's very different. It's like it's just so different. They have these cheers that are
it's kind of like it's like a concert.
It is like a concert.
Yeah.
And like they have like cheerleaders and it's like hardcore. I mean, it's hardcore like dancing.
Guys who have played over there literally say it is like the funnest time they've ever had playing baseball.
Yeah. It's fun. And like everybody's into it. Like the demographics are very diverse from like, all ages, like male, female. It's a really interesting. It's very different from going to a baseball game in the U.S. Obviously, it's diverse here too, but it's just the energy is different. It's fun. It's wacky.
It's like a playoff game.
Yeah.
But like elevated, more kind of like fun playoff game, like atmosphere or intensity.
It's so funny. But they all have like American team names too. You know, it's
Giants, Tokyo Giants.
Yeah. It's
I don't know why baseball is popular in some of the other countries and Caribbean countries versus not popular. I would assume maybe why soccer is so popular, in Europe and other Latin American countries, but not America, or not in the Dominican, or not in. I don't know. Maybe it must just be in the blood. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know either. So to end, I want to do like a. I thought this would be kind of fun. I'm going to have you describe each of your teammates in one word or a couple words.
Okay.
All right, let's start with Springer. Go.
Springer is.
Jeez.
Well,
do you want to come back to this one?
No, it's just that I need more than one word. I need more than even a couple words. Like Springer is the
use a sentence.
Like Springer is part of the soul of the team.
Okay, that was a good compliment. Altuve
is the heartbeat of the team.
Soul and heartbeat.
Yeah.
Correa
is the general.
He's the general. Bregman
is the Bregman is the wheelbarrow of the team.
What does that mean?
Scott, I thought you got it. People will know.
Verlander
is he's the caballo of the team.
All right. That means horse in Spanish.
Yeah, he's our horse.
Okay. Just got to translate for everybody.
That's right.
I don't have all Houstonians on my podcast. I don't know who listens to my podcast. Hopefully somebody. We're getting up there. We've been consistently in like the top 100.
There it is.
For the last week. Alvarez
is the silent assassin.
The silent assassin. You got anybody else you want to give some shout outs to?
This is the whole team, honestly.
It's not the whole team.
No, I'm saying like the whole team. We got a bunch of good dudes on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, give a shout out to the whole team. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
we got a bunch of of killers on our team.
Yeah. Well, we're looking
not
forward.
Figuratively.
No, I know. Yeah. Figuratively, not literally. They're not a SEAL
not
platoon.
literally. I apologize. Not literally killers.
You were like, not figuratively. Like, wait a second.
Everyone's like, whoa.
that was an intense conversation. Well, we know you guys are going to do great things in the upcoming season. We're going to get that title. It's going to be awesome.
That's right.
And I'm excited about it.
We hope we have a season soon.
Yeah, I think so. And I'll be there. I want to get to some of these games. That's for sure. So, hey, Lance, thanks for being on the show,
man. Thank you.
And, let you get back to your